Hey, what's up guys? It's Motoxiety, and today I have the Ninja 400 out because we're going to be learning how to ride a motorcycle. So one of the first things that I recommend you guys do is do some research on your bike before you even step a leg over your bike. Do some research on it. If you just bought your first motorcycle and you haven't ridden a bike before, it's super important to do a little bit of extra research on your bike, on forums, on YouTube, or whatever. Just figure out and try to gain as much knowledge as possible on the bike that you bought. It's really important to have that little extra level of knowledge about your bike so that if things go wrong with your bike, you can kind of know what's going on with it. I think it's really important, and I definitely recommend that you do a little bit of research on your motorcycle. This is my Ninja 400. This is a great beginner bike. This is a great first bike for any of you guys out there who are looking to get a beginner bike, and there's a lot of great resources and a lot of great knowledge out there about these bikes. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys a little walk around of this bike and point out some of the important things that you're going to need to know. So right here on the left side of the bike, you have your clutch lever. It's this black thing right here. This is your clutch lever, right? This is what you're going to be pulling in every time you want to shift gears. Speaking of shifting gears, same thing. On the left side of your bike, down by where your left foot is going to be, you have this right here. This is your gear lever. This is how you're going to be shifting up and down into gears. Underneath that, this long black thing, you have your kickstand. So anytime you get off the bike, you want your kickstand down so your bike can lean on top of that. All this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but I think it's important to go over it for those of you who have not ridden a bike before. This right here is your passenger peg. You don't have to worry about that. Coming over to the right side of the bike though, you have your rear brake over here. That's what I'm touching with my finger. This is your rear brake. This activates your rear brake caliper and is going to, that's how you're going to brake to the rear. This right here on the right side is your front brake. This is going to activate your front brake caliper. Again, pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go over this stuff so that you guys know it and that I cover it thoroughly. But front brake lever. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to step a leg over the bike and show you kind of the controls that you're going to be seeing. So let me put my leg over. All right, so now we're seated on the bike. We can kind of feel the weight of the bike underneath us, and we have a couple things in front of us. Over here, you have your lights, your high beams. So for motorcycles, guys, for the most part, any newer bike that you get on is going to come with automatic lights on. So when you start up the bike, your lights are just going to be automatically on. Whether it's daytime, whether it's nighttime, they will just be on. And this switch is only for controlling high beams. Underneath that, we have our left and right turn signals. Anytime you activate those, you're going to have to manually turn them off. So if I go to turn left and I turn my left turn signal on, once I'm out of the turn, it will still be on. So I'm going to have to push it back to the center to turn it off. Underneath those, you have your horn. My bike's not on, so obviously I can't press it at the moment, but it's just a cute little horn sound on these smaller bikes, but it does the trick. On the right side, you have your ignition down here, and then you have your kill switch. So in order to prime the fuel pump, you need to turn this kill switch to the on position. Right now it's in the off position. You have this little indicator here letting you know that if it's flipped this way, it's off, and letting you know if it's flipped down like that, it is on. And then down here is your ignition button. Cool, so you kind of know where everything on your bike is now. So what are the next steps? You walked around your bike, you figured out where everything is, you've done research on your bike. Now the next step is to kind of pick the bike up between your legs. So go ahead, put your bike between your legs, holding it up like this. You can leave your kickstand down if you feel more comfortable doing that. But you just kind of want to balance the bike now between your legs, get a feel for the weight. It's definitely something that I recommend to anyone who's learning how to ride, is to get comfortable with the weight of your bike. Get comfortable balancing the weight of your bike between your legs in a standstill position. Because when you're first learning to ride, you're going to be going very, very slow. And if you are not comfortable with the weight of your bike, you could tip over. So just kind of sit with your bike for a second. You can hold the handlebars, just rock your bike back and forth between your legs. Get comfortable with holding your bike up, get comfortable with the weight of the bike, and get comfortable with how your feet are positioned on the ground when you are standing with your bike. There's a lot of shorter riders out there that will not be able to flat foot a bike like I am. I'm 6 foot. I have a nice bend in my knees. I'm flat footing this bike very comfortably, but there are people who ride Ninja 400s that are 5'3". There are people that are riding Ninja 400s that are 4'8". They're going to be sitting in a very different position than I am. So it's very important that you hold this bike up under its own weight and bounce it back and forth and get comfortable with how you're going to be holding the bike for yourself. Once you get comfortable with that, go ahead and kick up your kickstand. Now the bike is now there's nothing protecting you. Now it's just fully you holding up the bike. And we're going to go ahead and turn the bike on. How do you turn a bike on? You put your key into the little ignition over here. So your key's in, and you're going to go ahead and turn your key to the on position. Cool. The key's in the on position. There's some things happening on the dash. It's all lit up and everything like that. But you still can't start your bike. It's not like a car where you can just turn it and it starts. So what do you have to do? We have to go over to our ignition switch. We have to flip that to the on position. So go ahead and flip that to the on position, and you're going to hear some sounds. There's going to be some whirring, mechanical sounds, and maybe like a little buzzing or something like that. That is your fuel pump priming. You want to wait till those sounds end before you start your bike. Just give it a couple seconds, let the fuel pump prime, let gas get flowing through your bike, and then you're going to go ahead and pull your clutch in. Your clutch is on your left side over here. You're going to go ahead and pull that in. For the newer bikes, you don't need to pull your clutch in, but I recommend that you do on these bikes, because if you don't have a gear indicator, you don't know what gear your bike is in. You could be in first gear, and if you don't have your clutch pulled in when you go to start your bike, it is going to lurch forward and stall. So it's just a safety precaution for all bikes that you go on. Just pull the clutch in. It's not going to hurt the bike. It's a good habit to be in, and I think it's super important. Once you have your clutch pulled in, you can go ahead and start your bike. So you have your kill switch turned to the on position, and you can go ahead and press this little black button down here. Just a quick little press, and now your bike is started. You can let go of your clutch because you're in neutral. There you go. Your bike is running and started. So what do you do now? Now you're going to get comfortable with your clutch. So for those of you who have never driven a manual car and obviously never ridden a bike before, having a clutch on a vehicle is going to be a learning curve. It's going to be something that you have not experienced before, so you're going to need to figure out how it works. So what you're going to do is you're going to reach over, you're going to pull in that clutch again, all the way in. You want to make sure that the clutch is touching the handlebar here. You want it pulled in as far as you can pull it in. And down here with your gear lever, you're going to take your left foot and you're going to press down as hard as you can. That will put your bike in first gear. You want to hear a nice click, a nice clunk. You're going to feel your bike go into gear. You can bring that foot back down that was up, and with both feet planted on the ground, you want both feet firmly planted on the ground. What you're going to do is slowly, watch my left hand, slowly start to let your clutch out, just like this. And you're going to feel your bike start to move on its own. So you're going to feel it slowly pull forward. Now watch my feet. My feet are slowly coming up because the bike is pulling forward on its own. Once you get to right on your tippy toes, you're going to go ahead and pull your clutch in and rock backwards till you're on your heels, just like that. And you're going to repeat the same thing. So slowly let your clutch out, just like that. Look, I'm coming down on my foot. I'm coming down on my feet right here, and I'm going up to my toes, just slowly letting my clutch out, not all the way out, and I'm going to pull it back in and rock the bike back until I'm on my heels. You also want to make sure your right hand is hovered over the brake, but don't squeeze these, just hover over it just in case. You're going to do most of your stopping and starting with the clutch right now. You're in a slow speed, so you're not really going anywhere. But again, you just want to practice that motion, slowly letting your fingers come out of the clutch. Watch my fingers, slowly letting them out until you find what's called the friction zone. So you find it. I'm on my toes right now. Totally did that by just letting out the clutch a little bit. I'm going to pull it back in so that I can rock backwards onto my heels. This is a really, really good thing to practice that gets you comfortable with your clutch, your friction zone, and letting out your clutch so that you're able to ride your bike comfortably. That friction zone is super important. The friction zone is where you are going to be adding gas to your bike to be able to move forward. So once again, we're going to let that clutch out just a little bit, come up onto our tippy toes, And then we're going to pull the clutch in, rock the bike back until we're on our heels. You're going to do that a lot of times. You're going to get comfortable doing that. You're going to get comfortable finding your friction zone. Once you are comfortable doing that, you can move on to this next step right here. You are going to slowly let out of your clutch. So go ahead, slowly let out your clutch, just like this, until you start moving forward on your own. Then you're just going to walk the bike forward. So go ahead, walk the bike forward. You can keep your feet on the ground. See how I'm kind of walking? Go ahead, just walk your bike around. You want to find that friction zone when you're letting your clutch out that lets the bike move forward, and you don't want to let it out any farther. But you just want to, as the bike's moving forward, you just want to kind of walk it around, just like this. So my feet are firmly touching the ground. I am walking the bike around, just like this, and I'm letting out my clutch. I'm turning, I'm going around the parking lot, and I'm doing all of this by just having my clutch out. I will take my hand off the thing so you can see that I'm not giving it any gas. All I'm doing is just purely letting the bike move under its own power. So we're going to come back to a nice stop over here. Pull your clutch all the way in. You don't even have to touch your brake. Just pull your clutch all the way in. You will stop. You're going to do that a couple times around the parking lot. Just get comfortable finding your friction zone and letting the bike move under its own power. Once you are comfortable doing that, you're going to go ahead and put your left foot up here where your gear indicator is, and you are going to let your clutch out until the bike moves forward under its own power, and you're just going to walk it forward with one foot now. So just go ahead and walk it around with one foot. Find that same friction zone, let the bike move under its own power, don't let the clutch all the way out, and just kind of walk it forward with one foot. Just get comfortable being balanced on your motorcycle, get comfortable with your friction zone. Super, super, super easy. It might take you a couple tries, but I'm telling you, once you figure out these key parts, you're going to be moving. You're going to be getting things down pretty quickly. So we're going to come back to another stop here. All right. So you've done it with 2 feet on the ground. You've done it with 1 foot on the ground. So what's the next step? It's no feet on the ground. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to put our left foot up here by the gear shifter, right on our pedal. We're going to slowly let out until we find that friction zone. We can walk it forward with 1 foot to start. But once we find that friction zone, we're going to go ahead and bring this right foot up. So the bike is moving fully under its own power. Look, my hand's not here. I'm not giving it gas. We're going 4 miles per hour. I'm just going to go ahead and let the bike move forward under its own power. Dude, you guys are riding a bike now. This is super awesome. I'm super proud of you guys that you've got to this stage right here in first gear. That's awesome. So we're just going to let the bike roll around the parking lot. You're going to turn. It's super important too when you're turning that you are looking in the direction that you want to go, right? So you want your head and eyes up. You want to look in the direction that you want to go. Don't pay attention to any of this. That's not important. That's not going to tell you anything you don't already know. You're moving, right? So you want your head and eyes up, and you want to look in the direction that you want to go. I want to turn left. I'm looking left, right? Because if I'm looking down, what's going to happen? I'm going to go down into the ground. So you want to head up, eyes up, and you want to look in the direction that you want to go. We're going to come back over here. We're going to pull our clutch in. We're going to stop. You can give it a little brakes if you want to, right in front. Test out your front brakes. You don't want to slam on them. You don't want to squeeze them like that. But you can give it just a soft little pull so you can see how they'll feel. And now you have both feet planted on the ground. Okay, so you stopped. And now you want to stop your bike. So what do? You need to get your bike into neutral. You want to have your clutch fully pulled in. You don't want to let go of your clutch at any point in this. You want your clutch fully pulled in. You're going to bring up your left foot. You're going to stick it underneath this gear shifter underneath, just like this. So left foot, and you're going to kick it a half step up. So nice and slow, half step up. And now you're in neutral. It's going to feel weird. You might do this a couple times. Look at my gear. I'm in first gear right now. You might do this a couple times where you kick it up into second gear. It won't let me do it because I'm on a Ninja 400 and it has a lockout. But you might kick up into second a couple times. That's fine. Just kick down as hard as you can, like this. Kick down, and then softly kick back up until you find neutral, where you're going to see either a green light on your dash. You're going to see a neutral indicator where it has that little N right there. And if you don't have any of that, what you're going to do is you're going to plant your feet. If you think you found it, you're going to plant your feet like this and just slowly start to let out your clutch. Right to where you think that friction zone is. If your bike's not moving forward at all at this point, you're in neutral. You're fine. So you can just let it out. You're good. Look, so the bike's still running. I let it out. I'm not touching the clutch anymore, and I didn't stall. So that's super important for you to just, understanding where that friction zone is, understanding where your clutch is, and everything like that. Super, super important. All right, so that was part 1 and the end of today's video. I will be getting into a lot more in part 2 on how to ride a motorcycle. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Check me out on TikTok, like and subscribe to see more of this content, and I will see you in part 2. Have a good one.